We can't learn everything from our books. We have to learn from our elders too as to how to raise our children, and then they'll learn how to raise their children, and goes on from there. So it's like applying two worlds as one.
This isn't a curriculum that's about either or. This is a curriculum that's about both and. So we're bringing the different views in, but we're working with that information in the context of these communities.
I think one of the huge drawing cards was that this was early childhood education, early childhood training, and potential daycare services. So children are very important to communities, to all of us. And we see them as a vested responsibility, a community responsibility. It's not just a parent's responsibility, but everyone in the community is responsible for the children.
The focus is on the strengths of the community and what the community can bring positively into thinking about how to further the well-being of young children and their families. So rather than having a deficit orientation, it's very much a strengths orientation.
What I'm looking into is being a counselor, student counselor, for my home reserve in Frog Lake.
I would like to look into the judicial system. We have a higher rate of young offenders here in our community, and I think there's a need to develop a program, a prevention for our young offenders.
And I think it's a good program for the men to do to better themselves, to understand what some of these children and youth are going through.
I've been doing my practicum, and just this past Tuesday I got hired for a job. So I'm actually not finished my program yet, and I'm already hired into a job, so I'm excited about it.
This program, really, when I think about it, it supports my life. The more I develop personally, the more professionally I was more effective and efficient and doing the work that I always wanted to do.
This isn't a classroom setting where the teacher goes in, closes the door, and that's how the class is taught. Rather, this is an open classroom setting where people come and go in order to give their knowledge, their stories, their experiences to build the part of the curriculum.
I've always wanted to be a teacher, so it was a perfect opportunity for me. I want to get a degree and work with the primary grades. Patience. The elders teach us every week, and they come in.
So it was really a good time, you know, and the students wrote down what the elders said, and then they would hand those in, or they would use them for their essay writing or their exams, and for the input for the generative curriculum.
I'm just wondering if you, being the elders, have heard of this belief, or...
And if we don't ask the elders and don't have the input, then whatever we are going to operate or design will not be as effective in our community as it is with the blessing of the elders.
The elders are very, very pleased as to the response from the students. They're thrilled. The students, when they see an elder on the street, they acknowledge them. And this makes our elders very, very happy.
The talking stick is passed from person to person as they speak, and only the person holding the stick is allowed to talk during that time.
The delivery of the program is initiated by the First Nations community, and all aspects of delivering the program require community commitment and community initiative.
Our values and traditions will be integrated right into the daycare program once it is open. community development involves developing our people towards self-reliance and self-sustaining, self-sufficiency.
After successfully completing the 2-year program, students are also eligible to apply to the Ministry of Health for their basic certification in early childhood education following their 500 hours of work experience.
So when we began as new teachers, we began to rediscover ourselves, and we looked at the things that were missing within our lives and said, this is what we want for our children. So these programs are very important.
When you have a curriculum that involves the community, you can expect and you will see ripple impacts. Because when individuals are allowed entry into educational processes, it doesn't end inside the classroom. They carry that experience with them.
It's very exciting to think about pursuing these ideas more broadly in other majority world countries. Even though the First Nations Partnerships Program has been focused on work with First Nations communities here in Canada, that the basic approach is one that has great applicability around the globe, where the loss of information, the loss of culture, the loss of your traditional orientation is as great in many of those cultures and many of those places in the world as it is within First Nation communities here in Canada.
Culture is embodied in the way that we raise our children, and that training programs for early childhood educators and models of doing services for children and their families are embodiments of a cultural perspective.
That's our castle, where the tree is. See that tree? Wait! That's our castle.
No!
One! The battle has begun! I'm wounded! I got one! No! I got one! You're wounded? You gotta get him! 3, 2, 1!
We can't learn everything from our books. We have to learn from our elders too as to how to raise our children, and then they'll learn how to raise their children, and goes on from there. So it's like applying 2 worlds as one.
The desire to have a bicultural or multicultural curriculum is one of the things that's brought us to this work and made it so exciting for us, is learning from the communities, and then the communities being so receptive to learning from us.
The education that's being achieved through this isn't something that could come out of a university or an institutional base alone, nor is it one that would necessarily come out of a community on its own. But I think it's that putting together the 2 different pieces that really makes it work.
I think one of the huge drawing cards was that this was early childhood education, early childhood training, and potential daycare services Unemployment has been a real social issue with communities, with our First Nation communities. So I think if we can create employment opportunities for women and men, and valuable experiences for them, then they feel good about themselves, and this helps to build a healthier lifestyle for themselves and their family, and that ripples off into a healthier lifestyle for the community. And I think overall the long-term benefit of offering a program which takes the strengths and the knowledge and the skills of an individual so that they can begin to feel good about themselves is worth the dollar value. The elders were very helpful to us in being able to validate the traditional cultures and speak to the students about the ways that they were brought up and the experiences that they had with both parents being there, with a close-knit community being around them all the time. So the elders really brought a lot of respect, I think, to the program, and integrity to the program, as well as being able to validate, because using the curriculum through a generative approach, we didn't have any First Nation early childhood educators that were qualified to teach the program at that time. And they also needed the expertise and the advice of the elders to guide them in their work. Because we had fun with it too, and sometimes the students might tell the instructor in a humorous way. We use humor in a lot of our teachings. Something that the instructor might not know whether or not they were serious. So I mean, we had lots of fun with that model of teaching and learning.
So when I came here, started working with elders, I was lost, but I learned. I visit elders quite a bit. I visit women elders, men elders, give them tobacco, and they tell you what you want to know. They won't tell you everything. You have to try to learn for yourself. The elders were happy about it, and because the first time they've been involved, we never asked elders before. Never needed them. We're too smart. Now we have them all involved in every program.
I often tell my grandchildren that we need to be where people are, to talk, to laugh, It's a good feeling. As I see my grandchildren being taught at an early age, it is so good, As from in my days, they didn't take them to school till they were 7. But now I visited lots of these kindergarten school, and it is such amazing how they learn, not like years back.
We've really seen clearly the importance of having an elder coordinator, somebody who facilitates the elders coming into the curriculum and teaching and learning process. And it's best if that person is of that community. So that person plays a role in identifying elders who would be able to speak to the various topics that are covered in the courses, and also helping students to be receptive to learning from the elders, and to considering elders' words in juxtaposition to the Euro-Western concepts and ideas that they're reading about in their course materials that are provided by the university.
Children are very important to communities, to all of us. And we see them as a vested responsibility, a community responsibility. It's not just a parent's responsibility. It's very important to be community-paced as well as community-based and community-driven. Empowerment. We wanted people to feel confident in their strengths and the skills that they already had.
The steering committee was struck at the very beginning and consists of the post-secondary coordinator, the education administrator, a band council member, the health director, and myself as the employment and training representative. So the steering committee has worked very hard throughout the 2 years to make sure that the program is on track and covering all the needs of the community. And currently, the committee is working with the University of Victoria to pursue the possibility of going on to the 4-year program. And we hope that that falls into place.
I guess the community is really looking forward to having this, what we're calling for now, a multiplex, till we get the name for it. The one advantage is that we're now where most of the people are, easy access for them to come to the health services. And another really important project within the multiplex is the daycare, which is badly needed for young mothers to complete their high school, and also an important part of all the employment and training programs that we've been accessing for on the reserve, where students feel much more comfortable in coming, and it's much more cost effective to have the training right where the people live.
The generative curriculum approach has proven very beneficial because it ensures that the structure of our daycare will include our values and traditions that will be integrated right into the daycare program once it is open. And we have also been very fortunate that 3 of our community members were qualified to deliver the instruction of the curriculum. And I think that's a real bonus.
Cowichan Tribes had actually made it really clear that they wanted the Cowichan campus to be involved, because I assume it's because it was on tribes land, and that they saw that this was a very convenient place for their members to come.
We have to remember that the need has to be established at the First Nations community level first. I know with our department heads, when a new proposal comes up, they talk to the committee, they talk to the council, and the council always wants a supper to consult with the community to see how they feel. And from that point, it's up to the community to give us direction.
From an administrative point of view, one of the best things about the program was the opportunity it gave us as a university college to really work differently and work, I think, in a very collaborative way with the First Nations group. Our experience with the Cowichan Tribes was an extremely positive one, but it was a challenge for us to, as it was for UVic, to realize that this was not our project. As educators, we're much more comfortable going in and telling people what they need. And so it was a challenge for us to truly hear what the First Nations people wanted, what was important to them, and to do it in a way which could still interface with the academic world.
I think one of the biggest effects too is that our people look at this place as an extended family. And that because in our traditional ways, like your cousin is your brother and sister. But in a traditional way, everybody's related. Everybody looks after each other. You know, there's a huge love going around in a circle, big circle. And there's no end to this type of support that we get here. And you feel it whether you're a student or a staff or a faculty or a speaker. A number of our elders have said They feel really at home when they come here because they're greeted in a special way. They're recognized, whether they're students or staff that greet them.
Our way of life has kind of changed quite a bit now that we have to start taking some kind of responsibility for some of our youth and our children. And I think most of our lives, the women usually did that. And they're the ones that talked to the children, and you know, the men were there to discipline them, but the women were the ones that were, you know, talking to them all the time. And a lot of the teachings that I got from our elders is that, you know, to respect your children all the time and talk to them when they do something wrong, and you know, so that helped me out quite a bit.
More and more First Nations in Canada are interested in having early childhood education training that involves their community, that meets community goals, and that integrates traditional and contemporary cultural values and practices.
I had not experienced, as well as the other participants in residential school, the parenting skills that were needed for me to become a parent. The nurturing skills, my culture, the dancing, the songs, the spiritual traditions, and other traditions that are very important for us to be a balanced people and who have a self-identity